Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excuse me as I get the late things. Can't feel plugged in. So I want to write something now to speak. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. إن الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن. Praise be to Allah who has created the heavens and the earth and every being in them. وَبَدَعَ لَخَلْقِ الْإِنسَانِ مِنْ طِينٍ. He began the creation of the human being from clay, earth and water. وَنَحْنُ, we as human beings are the lowest of the physical creation. الْمَلَائِكَةُ مِنَ النُّورِ, the angels are from light. وَالْجِنُّ مِنَ النَّارِ, and the jinn are created from a fire, like the essence of a fire, smokeless fire. And we're created from dirt, which is the lowliest of the materials, but Allah has elevated us above the others. Alhamdulillah, nahmiduhu, praise be to Allah. Nahmiduhu, we give him the hamd. Nahmiduhu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illahu, we bear witness that there is no God, no deity except him. Wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. So we always give thanks to Allah, and also thanks to humanity, the humans, and the sun, everything. We're grateful beings as Muslims. And alhamdulillah to our brother Ismail, who organizes these Sunday Ta'aleem, the Sunday programs, and for inviting me to be part of it. Before I get into my topic, I just wanted to mention, and inshallah, I meant to ask you after this a lot and I forgot, to make a little dua for there's a janazah going on, like right now, and the janazah prayer was to be after the Dhuhr prayer at ODU. There were two sisters who passed, like on the same day. One was 70-ish, in her 70s, and the other one was just 25. They both had been sick, and they both happened to pass on the same day. And the brother, he said, there's no discrimination in death, which is true. Death takes the young, the old, the middle. There's no discrimination in death. Whatever Allah commands is by the amr of Allah. So we just make dua for them that Allah will be merciful to their souls, grant them peace, grant them entrance into the paradise. Rabbi arhamhuma, arhamhunna, the two women, arhamhunna, wadkhilhunna fi jannatik, waghfir dhunubahunna, forgive them their sins. Warham ala ahlihinna, have mercy on their families. Ameen.
So wait, I gotta look.
Oh, okay. They're dressed like English. All right, so our topic today, and some of you may have been present, we did this a few years ago, I think, but you know, nothing is ever the same way twice. So the topic is food and worship, or ta'am wal ibadah, food and ibadah, or worship and service to Allah Ta'ala. And there is a definite and a very strong connection between these two. So I'm going to start with an ayah that's very familiar to everyone, which is from Surah An-Nisa, the surah of the women, the fourth chapter. And just the first part of that ayah, the first ayah, and the first part of that ayah. And it's one that starts out as different ayat to do in the Quran, addressing all of humanity, which is another way of showing us that the Quran is for everyone, okay? Because Allah is speaking to everyone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. O you human beings, guard your souls, or take Allah as your shield for your soul. And the word used is Rabbakum. Taqu Rabbakum. So take for protection the one who determines, evolves, and sustains your existence. That's Rabbukum. The one who created you from one soul and created from her mate, and from the two of them raised up numerous men and women. We must remember our origin. We have to know who we are. If we don't understand who we are, where we came from, what our purpose is, what the objective is of our lives, we're not going to make proper decisions. So we have this nobility of the soul. Humble, and because we are min nafsin wahida, one soul, one humanity, sacred, because of being created by Allah Ta'ala, created from very lowly materials, yet, as I said, raised up and ennobled by Allah above every other creature, every other being. And Malaik was told to bow to us. The head of the jinn, who became known as Iblis, was told to bow to us. We were put above all of the other creatures who were created before us. That's what made the shaitan or Iblis so angry. You know, I'm here before him. I'm a nobler creation than he is. Why would I bow? So this is our origin, and you have to know your origin. And we have to remind ourselves that we have this beginning from one soul, from a clay body, and from the Ruh of Allah Ta'ala, the Ruh, the breath of Allah. He says, نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, I breathed into this human one of my own spirit. So this is us, this is the human one. And when we know how we are created, then what is the purpose? You know, I was just heard on the radio this morning, something about the questions about who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose? Where are we going? And I thought, geez, these are all of the things that Quran answers for us. We don't have to be asking those types of questions. We can ask other things. We can look for other things, but those are answered for us so that we have the basic knowledge given to us. So that Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, which is Surah 51, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Purpose, basic purpose for all humanity. I only created, I didn't create you for any other reason. You, jinn, and humans, not for any other reason, إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, except that you would worship me. That's our purpose, to worship and serve Allah. And in our existence, as believers, we believe in the word of Allah, we believe in our relationship with Allah, then everything that we do, every choice that we made, every thought that we have, every act that we do becomes an act of worship. It becomes ibadah. Because that's our only purpose. And every day, and you know, I had one of my Christian students in Sudan say, every day is a resurrection, and it's true. You go almost in death when you sleep. You wake up, it's like you have a new life, given your soul is returned to you. So every day as we, you know, get up for ibadah. We get up for Fajr, either Tahajjud, you're getting up for Tahajjud, you're getting up for Fajr, but you're getting up in the morning for ibadah. So your purpose, you know what your purpose is. And inshallah, we're all acting on our purpose. So everything that we do, every aspect of our life, when we're living our lives well, then becomes, and also with good intention, the niyyah, and it becomes a form of worship. And in order to live well, you have to know what Allah wants of you, what Allah wants of us. So one of the main things that we are created in and supposed to remain in is sin, right? Sin. Let me just put this here, though we know this is what we're working under. Bismillah. So the main objective is silm. Silm, this is a noun now, from the verb salama. That Allah wants our submission. He wants us to subject our will, our desire, to what He wants of us and what He has created us for. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 208, is addressed now to believers. And I think I'm not going to quote everything in Arabic just for time. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أدخلوا في السلم كافة أدخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. Oh, you who believe, enter into the sin, into submission to me, kafat, wholeheartedly, all together, because we're just one humanity. But out of that humanity, there is this smaller, more select group of believers. And Allah is saying to this group of believers, respond to Him and come into this silm, Islam. Silm is what Islam is. Silm, kafat, wholeheartedly, leaving no part of yourself out, and all, doing this all together. Because Islam is a communal religion. It's a communal way of life. Fatiha is a communal prayer. It's nahnu. Even if I'm saying it by myself, I'm acknowledging in that prayer of the Fatiha that I am in this with all of the others who believe, who do ibadah. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We are doing this. We are worshiping and serving you. We are seeking your help and support. Islam is a communal religion. Our prayer is a communal prayer, whether we're doing it alone or together. And the silm, Islam, is to be done communally. When we pay attention to these things, we're stronger, we're better. Okay? Because, like it tells us in the hadith, that the prayer is stronger when you're doing it with others. So your lives become stronger as you're living your life in connection with all of the other believers, not just anybody, but believers. Now in this ayah 208 from Baqarah, which is Surah 2, Allah says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. That's not the only place He says it. Do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Here it's related to sin. When He's saying enter into sin wholeheartedly and all together. So why is He saying don't follow the footsteps of shaitan in this particular case? Is because, shaitan, whatever his name was from before he became shaitan, which means the one who is shatana, who is rejected and put far away. Before that, he was a mu'min, believer, a worshiper, so good. He was so good. That's how he got elevated to sit with the malaik, with the angels. But he was not in that submission wholeheartedly, or he would never have rejected the command, right? There was a part of him that's like, I'm up here because of me. I'm good because I'm good. A little bit of arrogance, right? Which what led to his disobedience. So don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Do not take into yourself or hold into yourself any sense of arrogance. Because then you're not wholeheartedly in submission to Allah. You cannot be a true Muslim when you are retaining arrogance in yourself, seeing yourself as superior to others, humans or others. That's not what our place, that's not what our position in this creation is about. It's not about being arrogant or having superiority from ourselves. So, if we enter, as Allah says, kafat, then we become different from the one who disobeyed. We become different from the rebellious. And what He said after Allah cursed him, la'anahullah, Allah cursed him. And He said, but even in this, He said, Rabbi, He still calls Allah Rabb. He says, okay, la'anahullah, Allah cursed him. وَقَالَ, He said, لَأَتَّخِذَنَّ I'm surely, when you look at the Arabic, you see this emphatic determination that he's saying, I am going to do this, no doubt. I'm going to take, لَأَتَخِذَنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا, a portion, مَفْرُوضًا. I'm going to take a particular portion of your servants. Then he says, I'm going to cause them to be misguided. لَأَضِلَّنَّهُمْ, again, this emphatic, determined aspect of it. I will misguide them. وَلَأَمَنِيَنَّهُمْ, and I will cause them to desire things that are not good for them. Cause them to desire things. And they will, and it says, and then I will command them, I'll order them to do things, and it goes on to that they will slit the ears of not camels, but the an'am. They will slit the ears of the cattle, and he said, I will command them, and they will change the creation of Allah. They will change your creation. Khalqillah. They're going to change Allah's creation. Now these things are very important. That is in Surah Nisa. That's from Surah Nisa. 18 and 19, 2 ayat in there. Very important because this is Shaitan talking to Allah, talking to our Creator about what He is going to do with us. Okay? When we forget that He is Adu, that He's our enemy, when we don't pay attention, then we become victims of His determination. Because He's on His job every day, 24/7, as we say. That's His promise to Allah. He's telling Him, I'm determined to do this. And Allah gave Him that respite and allowed Him. Okay? So He's doing it. Now, this all is related. I'm not, off the subject here, which is food and worship. At'am wa Ibadaat. So when Allah created Adam and speaking to Adam, the first thing He told Adam to do, the first command He gives to Adam, that we know about in Quran, that is mentioned in Quran, when He says to Adam, tell the malaik about what I have taught you. Anbi'hum bi asma'ihim. Tell these angels, teach these angels about the nature of things that I've taught you. That's the first thing. The second command that we see in the Quran is when Adam and Hawa, Adam and his wife, are in the garden, and Allah says, Ya Adam, O Adam, askun anta wa zawjuka. You and your wife dwell here in this garden. Askun anta wa zawjuka al-jannat. Wa kula minha ragadan haythu shi'tuma. Eat from this, from what I have here. All of you I have here, eat from it as you like, with enjoyment. Take whatever. Wala taqrab, wala, and don't go near, taqarraba, don't either one of you go near hadhihi shajarat, this particular tree. Fatakuna min al-zalimin, or you will be of those who do wrong. Now, this is about eating. Kulu, eat. The second command is in the Quran given to Adam. Eat, both of you. Enjoy. Eat as you like, but stay away from one particular tree. So from the beginning, there is something haram, something forbidden. And it says, La taqraba, don't go near it. This is the thing about haram. It's not just about don't do it or don't, consume it. Don't go near it. Because in going near it, you may lose your balance, your footstep, your determination to obey Allah. You may lose. If you get too close, that magnetism, that whatever is appealing to that thing of you may pull you right in, as it did. And what Allah Ta'ala says about this, after He gives him this command, or gives them, both of them, the command, the two of them. This is what's so nice about, Islam. Makes it very clear. It wasn't about Adam and it wasn't about Eve. It was about both of them. These things are in the dual form. So it says, فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ. Shaitan caused them both to slip. It caused them to slip. Now this is still in Baqarah, okay? Ayah 36. فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ. And he took them out. He pulled them out from where they were. There was no sin. There was no regret. There was no bad feeling. Because there had been no disobedience. Nothing. Everything was good. But he took them out of that state of happiness, that state of bliss. And then is when Allah said, "Fahbitu," get down. You can't be here, not in with, now you have this feeling of regret that you did not obey me. But it's like Allah needed us to go through that experience. He already created us to be on this earth and to take care of this earth. But he knew he had also already created the shaitan, right? Who had disobeyed, who was going to tempt us and try to lead us away from the way of Allah. So we had to develop this sense of doing wrong, regretting the wrong, asking for forgiveness, which was taught to Adam right after that. This is فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ كَلِمَاتٍ. He learned certain words. What he learned were words of istighfar, which is not in Baqarah, it's in Surah Al-Araf, in the Surah 7. So, but Allah said, now you have to go. You have to go down and live on the earth. You can't live in this particular abode, this Jannah, this beautiful, perfect place, because now you're imperfect. And it says, well, how did this happen? Okay, so it's not like Satan just came to them and said, you know what? You know that tree that Allah said for you not to eat? Well, the only thing is that it might make you live forever, or it might make you like angels, and it's going to give you things that it's just going to be so wonderful. It's not like, and then Adam said, oh, really? I'm okay. This was a long process. This was a gradual deterioration of the resolve that Adam and his wife had to obey and stay faithful to what Allah had told them. The waswas, and that's what it says, waswasahum, that the shaitan, he whispered, waswasa lahuma, to both of them, a shaitan, liyubdiya lahuma ma wariya anhuma, that he would make manifest to them what had been hidden. Remember that when Allah created the soul, he gave the soul two capacities. He says, وَالنَّفْسَ وَمَا سَوَاهَا, but the soul in her proportions, right? فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. The soul has these two sides, these two capacities. The capacity for extreme good and also the capacity for extreme evil. So, but the capacity for evil was not known to Adam and Hawa prior to this act of forgetful disobedience. And then when that became known to them, it became ugly. That's when they started to try to cover themselves. They didn't like that aspect of themselves, but that's our reality. So in this nature, this is our nature. And at the end of this ayah is from Surah Al-Araf, which is 20 and 22, two ayah, 20 and 22. And he says to فَقَسَمَهُمَا, he swore to them, إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. He swore to them, I'm just a sincere advisor to you. I'm just telling you things that, you didn't know, the things that are really great. Just think about this. This gradual wearing down. And I want you to keep that in mind, because this is what's going on in this society related to our food. And has been going on for a long time. This gradual degeneration of the purity and gradually getting us to accept less and less quality. MO, the modus operandi, the way that this has already been done. This is nothing new. Okay? This is waswas. And it says he swore, I'm just a sincere advisor to you. فَدَلَّهُمَا بِغُرُورٍ. And he brought them down by deception. That's our weakness. We can be deceived. Things can be made to look good to us when they're not. When they will take us into the hellfire. And yet they're just, oh, wow. Yeah, this is what we need to do because the scientists said, and they're, everybody has agreed, but what did Allah say? This is what we have to keep in mind, because this is a dangerous thing. Okay, so we see that it says he took them down by deception. So one basic means of taking us out of a spiritually pure state is by getting us to consume what has been prohibited. What has not been placed in this world for our consumption, by corrupting our food, selling it to us, giving it to us, and making us think that this is something that is good. This type of eating corrupts your physical body, yes, because you are made to function on what is natural, what is pure, what is wholesome, beneficial, not on chemical, synthetic, genetically modified, etc., etc. That's not what we can function on, not keep us in a good state. So it's going to corrupt our physical bodies, it impairs the thought process, and it clouds the moral judgment. When Allah in Surah Al-Baqarah gave us this ayah, ayah 168, it gives us the essence of what we need for choosing the food. It's addressed to all humanity. This one is not addressed to just believers, because Allah wants everyone to pay attention to food. It's essential, right? It's what sustains you on a physical level, though that's not our most important level, but we do need it. Because the body, the physical body, is what we have to house our soul, our nafs, and our ruh, the ruh, as we move through this life. That's all we have, is one physical body. So the ayah 168 gives you the essence of what you need to choose to select your food. And that is just, Ya ayyuhan nas, يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. Again, all you humanity, eat from what is on the earth. حلالا طيبا, permissible, beneficial, permissible, wholesome, permissible and good for you. Now in English we would usually put permissible and wholesome, permissible and good, permissible and beneficial. In the Arabic, there is no division. You cannot separate these two qualities from food. Halal, permissible, tayyib, beneficial and good. And what is beneficial for you is beneficial for the environment, for the whole society. Because remember, everything is created for us, right? We're the last kid on the block. I mean, the last being in the creation. So everything has been created for us. So what is good for us is good for everything, because everything else has been created to serve us. And if we as humans allow that to be corrupted, then we've interrupted the whole function of all the creation, not just function and nourishment for ourselves. So here again, Allah says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. Here it's related to the food, because that was what he did to our parents. And Allah says, don't let him take you out of your nature the way he took your parents. You know, he gives, some things have to happen so that we have examples to live by. I was questioned the other night, I was at the synagogue, and I was questioned about why are we given such negative ayat, or negative portrayal of Bani Israel. And I'm like, you know, there's so many ayat in the Quran about the children of Israel. And these ayat are put there as lessons for us. Because this is a community that a prophet was sent to. You know, they went through the development, came out of the oppression and slavery and everything, and began to develop. They made mistakes. Blessings were taken away from them. Blessings were returned to them. This is examples for us. So what happened to our parents is an example for us. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan. He's going to try to mislead you related to food. He's going to try to get you to eat things that Allah does not want you to eat, that will corrupt you. It's just something to keep in mind. And so Allah is saying, only take what is permissible and good, right? Then when in Same Surah Baqarah, just a few ayat later, he addresses, so that was 168. If you go to 172 in Baqarah, it's addressed to believers. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. That one is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kullu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. O you who believe, eat of the good things that we provided for you. كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. And be grateful to Allah if it is Allah that you worship. So look what happens when Allah speaks to just the believers, when He takes this smaller group out of humanity. He didn't repeat halal. We are extremely careful, pretty much, about halal haram. But he emphasizes the tayyib because this is where we fall down. This is where we are so weak of the mu'min, of those who believe. We don't pay attention to what is tayyib. How do you define it? What does it mean? What does it mean for something to be beneficial, to be wholesome, to be good? It cannot have corrupt qualities. It cannot have in it these synthetic chemicals that Dow and Monsanto were telling you it's okay. It's not harmful for human consumption. Lie, right? Because it's going to make me a lot of money, so I'm telling you it's okay for you to eat it. And they say that it's genetic engineering. It's okay, because we need to do this. We must do this. We're going to be able to feed all the people on the planet. If we don't do this, we're not going to be able to feed the people. The people are going to be dying of starvation. Put you into this fear. What does Shaitan do? Try to make you scared that you're going to be in a state of poverty or lacking. And so you accept it. They sold it to the farmers in India. Their animals started dying. They became less productive. They started committing suicide because they couldn't support their families. They sold it to, the farmers out in the Midwest. You got to have this Roundup weed killer or whatever, and it's okay. It's in the groundwater, it's in everything, causing cancer. But they got some scientists that say it's all right. There's no proof that it's harmful. But the thing that we have to keep in mind, you don't have to be let's say like a rocket scientist or whatever. What you have to keep in mind is, how did Allah mean for this earth to function? And how did Allah mean for me to eat? He meant for us to eat naturally, not from things that have been manipulated by human hands and telling you that it's better for you after they've done this manipulation, after they have taken genes from one species and put it into another, or they have taken take the gluten out of wheat. And I heard something just the other day that they're creating onions, genetically modifying an onion so that your eyes won't tear up when you cut it. It's called a no tear or something. Like, cleaning your eyes is good, and if you have a lot of trouble, just go rinse your eyes and rinse your knife and start again. But to genetically change everything and then try to make it like, look how much better this is for you. Because I did it in the laboratory. It's wonderful. And we're just, we're not paying attention. None of these things are good for us. And don't worry, give them 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, all the sicknesses and physical different things. Well, they're already showing up, but we're not making the connections. A lot of the mental problems, bipolar, depression, whatever, ADHD, a lot of this stuff is just because of the food additives, the chemicals, which your body cannot handle because you're not created to live on this stuff. So another important thing, and again, in that ayah, also in 172, is washkuru lillah, be grateful to Allah. So we as Muslims, that we have this framing our food in dua, and in Surah An'am, Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6, when Allah says, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا ذُكِّرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, eat of the things on which the name of Allah has been pronounced. So before we eat or drink, we should say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim minimally, that we pronounce the name of Allah over what we're going to eat. And when we finish, this ayah in Baqarah says, Ashkuru lillah, be grateful to Allah. We say, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, alladhi at'amana, who gave us this food, wa saqana, gave us the drink, wa ja'alana muslimin. So we frame our food, whether it's a meal or a snack, you frame it in dua, which gives you some protection, from the effects, the negative effects. Because when you make dua over your food, understanding, we know that most of our food is corrupt, most of it. So we say, Ya Allah, give me the good of it and not the harm. Protect me from this and give me nourishment, and then ask for guidance to make better selections, better choices. So this is, and you don't find all this in one place. It's not, the ayah that talks about addressed to believers saying to eat of the tayyib, and it says, and be grateful to Allah, doesn't include the Bismillah from the beginning. That's in another surah. So the thing about Quran is that it's a holistic document that you have to know the whole thing to get the whole picture. You can't just take one ayah and think you got it. You have to read the entire. Allah wants you to work. It's like sit down and figuring out a puzzle. Okay, this piece goes with this piece, and if I put it, oh, look what happens. I see clearer, I see better. So we need to be able to do that, to read all of these ayat and put them together. Another important thing in the same sort of 6, where it says, eat of the name of Allah has been pronounced over, in kuntum bi'ayatihi mu'minin. If you are believing in the signs of Allah, then eat over what you have pronounced the name of Allah over. And it mentions the ayat, the signs. Now, you may or may not understand it, but science has proved that praying over your food changes the energy of your food, makes your food have a higher energetic quality. And I teach sometimes in Pennsylvania, and there's a young woman up there, and she buys big things of water, like these, they're like 16 ounces, I guess, spring water. But there'll be 40 of them in a pack, like 40 or 50 in a pack. And she sits them, and then she does a dhikr. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd. And she doesn't recite Quran, so she plays some Quran, and she makes more dua. A lot of, I can't tell you exactly her formula, but then she gives it away. She keeps some for herself, but she gives it away. She gave me the first time we were talking about it, we were just talking about water. We were having lunch. We were talking about water and the consciousness of water, and how, there's a Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto, who has done a whole study on water. And we were talking about how he said that you don't even have to actually speak to water. You can send thoughts to the water, and the molecules in the water will energetically change and begin to form more beautiful molecules and have a higher, pure energy in them. So she said, thank you. She said, because somebody had told me that I couldn't do what I'm doing because you have to open the container if you're going to pray over it. And she said, but I can't open the bottles because people don't want me giving them opened bottles of water, right? She wanted to give it away. It was like her sadaqah. So she said, I made a dua. I said, Allah, this is something I want to do and I love to do, but if you want me to continue doing it, you need to show me. So then we're sitting at lunch having this conversation. And when I said that to her about, you can just send a thought, she said, that's my confirmation that I can continue to do what I'm doing. So she gave me a couple of bottles. She had given a whole case of it away, and she went into that person's office. The person wasn't there, but she took a couple of their bottles and gave it to me. When I drank that water, the first thing I noticed was how beautiful it tasted. It was so pure. I've bought spring water before, but this was different. I noticed it was different. And then things started happening in my body. I felt this like purifying process going on, So I just called her to tell her how wonderful it was, and may Allah bless her to keep doing it. So the next time I went up there, she gave me one of those 50-bottle things, So now I have a whole lot of this water. And I'm just saying that to emphasize how this prayer and dhikr and appreciation can change the nature of things. So we do know that we have corrupted things. We don't, for the most part, you don't even know where your food is coming from, right? You go to the store, sometimes they put on the, like this is from USA, from cage-free chickens. Cage-free doesn't mean that they're out on the grass. Cage-free just means they're not in a cage. So they have ways of doing things, and still, okay, it says that, and then they'll say, it might even say organic feed. But you don't know. You don't know, because you don't know that farmer. You don't know that place. They may still be in a big, huge barn with no light, never see the light of day, never get out, but they're not in cages. They may be being fed organic, they may not. But what happens in those large barns? You have, some of them get sick, some of them die because they're packed in there so tight they don't even know. You've got a lot of stuff going on. And so the thing about knowing the source of your food is really, really important. And if you can, the more you can become in touch with that, become more connected to the source, the better off you're going to be. Because then you can make better choices. So what Allah Ta'ala says in this sort of 6 in this ayah 118, 119, when he gets into this, the first one says, eat of what the name of Allah has been pronounced over, and pay attention to the ayat if you're one who believes. Then they get into the next ayah, it says, وَمَا لَكُمْ أَلَّا تَأْكُلُوا. Why would you not eat from what the name of Allah has been pronounced on? Why would you not do that? Why would you not be concerned about the farmers from whom the food is coming, whether they're using the name of Allah or God, or because we have Amish and Mennonite, they don't use Arabic, but they do believe in God, and so they're people of faith trying to grow their food and produce their things with the name of God. But why would you not eat from what the name of Allah has been pronounced on? وَقَدْ فَضَّلَ لَكُمْ, and he has gifted you with things, and he has forbidden to you certain things also. Where are my glasses? He has forbidden certain things to you. And it says at the end of this ayah, it says, most people are misguided because of their desires. بِغَيْرِ إِلْمٍ, without any knowledge. إِنَّ رَبَّكُمْ هُوَ عَالَمُ بِالْمُعْتَدِينَ. And Allah knows those who are misguided. Misguided meaning outside of the limits that he has set. So the thing that, we want chicken. We want bananas in January. We want things. We want those, that candy that's poison. We want those sweet things that are made from a white sugar that's got ground up pig bones and, bleach and et cetera, et cetera. We want that ice cream made from a milk from a contaminated cow. Desiring. And not being willing to submit to the will of Allah for us for purity. So it says that most people are going to be taken away by the desire. And we have to be willing to fight that. We have to be willing to seek to subject, to get into submission to Allah. We have to be willing to make sacrifices. Okay, I know it's not good, so I don't have to have those chips with artificial color and MSG and whatever. I don't have to have, that chicken that I know probably was raised with hormones and antibiotics and, and I don't even know where it came from. I don't need that farm-raised fish that's coming out of Thailand or Vietnam or wherever. We got water, we're living by water. We don't need that. But we have to be willing, and even you say, oh, it's so expensive for me to get. Okay, so you don't eat it every week. Some things I might eat 3 times a year because I really can't afford it. But it's just sacrifices that we have to learn to make. I'm going to, I'm not going to complete this, but I'm going to give some solutions, some summary, and then open this for question and answer, and this will have to be, to finish it, the complete topic would be a part 2 at some point. So, the paper that you were given has on it what's called signature foods. When we talk about the ayat of Allah in the creation, Allah has placed signs. And one of the things about foods that, and this is like old knowledge, it's called the doctrine of signatures. So it's that foods have patterns that resemble something in your body or resemble a function, and this pattern acts as a signal of the food. So then they just give you some examples. So Allah puts signs in the foods, like if you slice a carrot and you look at it, it has a little center that looks like an iris, and it has things that radiate out looking like your eyeball, right? And then the tomato has the 4 chambers. It's red, and has a shape that is similar to the heart. The pomegranate also is like that. The grapes that hang in clusters that take the shape of the heart. So and I'm not going to go through all of these because you have this. But when you understand that Allah has put in the creation ayat, signs, to show you what's good for you, and also put in your body desire for certain things. Now your desires get corrupted by unnatural foods. But when you're in your natural state, you want what is good for you. You have an intelligence from the inside that is dictating what you need. That's why, sometimes you go in the store, you pass right by the cabbage, the carrots, because that broccoli is just looking so good. That's what you've got to have. That's what you need right then. And you may be one, like I have my son, he never wanted to eat sweet potatoes or what we call pumpkin squash or the orange squash. Something in his body didn't need what was in there. But he's not one to reject vegetables, Other things he will love. So some things you don't like because you don't need that particular thing. But what I always say is pay attention to your inner voice, unless it's saying, eat that whole bag of these chocolate chip cookies. Eat that whole thing of ice cream. Go get another bag of those chips. Don't pay attention to that stuff because something's wrong. There's something going haywire in your system. And you have to sit and think, why am I, being pushed to eat things that I know are not good for me? There's something else going on. But other than that, there is a superior intelligence that is existing within you. So the thing is, we have steps we can take. One of them is that we don't always want to be operating alone. Okay? We're not meant to be operating as individuals. We're a communal, a group. Muslims are a community. So we need to cooperate with each other. We used to do this in Nation of Islam so well. We would buy and we would share, and we would, have this thing going on so that we could all have equality. So sometimes it's not easy for you, but if we join together, we can get that raw sugar and that organic brown rice and the natural, breads and different things. We can do that together, and we can look out for each other. So that's one thing, to try to cooperate. Every community should have something called like a food council, that the people that know about, have certain talents or educated or willing to do some research can sit and say, okay, these things, stay away from those because. You don't want to eat farm-raised fish because. We have found out what they're doing. There was an imam from New York, and he said, a store-bought chicken, just in general, there are things that organic, Amish, whatever, but just in general, chicken, he said, is off the chart for us. Because they're feeding those chickens all kinds of horrible stuff that you should not be putting into your system. So we need people, you need to have like a committee or something for food and a co-op that we can put some money in and we can purchase cooperatively, okay? We need to find out who are the natural growers, the natural farmers, and we need to support them. Because there's a whole movement to take away their land, to take away their profit, to take away their ability to produce good food for us. So we need to find out who they are in our area and try to support them, I know that there is a business called Simply Natural Halal, and this is a group out of Laurel, Maryland that has partnered with Amish farmers. So they've got organic and halal chicken, goat, lamb, and beef. And they will deliver it, dry ice, to your door. Or you can go up there once a month and pick it up from their warehouse. This like I said, we have to be willing to make sacrifices. Like I don't buy meat out of the store. I just don't buy it. because even if sometimes when it says organic or whatever, I don't trust it. People will tell you anything. It's going to make them $1. So I wait. You know, when I drive up north once a month, sometimes my daughter's ordering, she said, Mom, do you want anything? And I'll yell, get me this or that. I don't buy eggs because there's a Mennonite family that we've been getting honey and cheese and different things from, and their eggs are like the best. Because I bought, you know, these eggs that I bought out of the Whole Foods market were supposed to be organic and, you know, grass-fed chickens and et cetera, et cetera. But when I opened it, you know, after I cooked it, because I eat hard-boiled egg, and the yolk was so pale, and I'm like, and the other yolks are so rich orange, you know what I mean? So I'm like, something's not right. And I'm paying $5 a dozen for some eggs, and I'm going to get this. So I just don't buy it. I don't buy the eggs out of the store. I don't eat eggs most of the time, since I know I can't get the best. Because that's another concept in Islam. Az-Gedam, the purest of the food. Get the best that you can. Don't be saying, oh, my budget, I got to get the cheapest. No, get the best. You can eat less. You don't have to eat 3 times a day. I hope nobody really, it's not, you know, I don't think most of us are, you know, in Nation of Islam, like once a day, right? I mean, we can eat, if you eat twice a day is good. You know, you don't have to eat 3 times a day. And if you eat well, you're not even hungry. It's like you don't want to eat that much. You feel like you're overburdening your body to eat that many times. So let's, you know, we need to identify those organic and, you know, whole food, real food growers, farmers, suppliers, and support them. So the thing is, it says most people, the average person is unhealthy due to their diet. Health is found in obedience to Allah and consuming what Allah has created for us to eat. And Allah said in Surah 5, "Uhilla lakum at-tayyibat." I made permissible to you everything that is good for you. If it's not good for you, it's haram. Haram for me, haram for you, haram for us. So only what is permissible for us is what is good. And this is what we just have to pay attention, examine, and be very familiar with what is good, because that's what is halal. I'm going to stop here, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, and open this for discussion, questions, comments. Walaikum salam.
What were you saying about bananas in January?
I want bananas in January. First of all, we are not in a tropical climate, and bananas don't grow in this area, all right? But if you're going to eat them, you should eat them in the hot, warm weather, not in the winter. That's a food of a tropical climate. One of the concepts of eating is eat of the food as it becomes ripe in its season. So even if you're going to have bananas in North America, you need to eat them in a climate that is similar to that in which they grow.
So I like pineapples, and I get pineapples all the time. I shouldn't be eating them in the wintertime?
No.
Is it adverse to me? I mean, is it wrong?
Yes.
It is?
Yes. Because it's not a food that supports your well-being in the cold weather.
Okay.
It's a food meant for the hot weather. Now, dates are the same way, but we eat dates in Ramadan, whether it comes in December or whenever, right? It's a sunnah that we're following. But even what we have to keep in mind in the cold weather, that this is not a cold weather food, so we should eat less of them than we do in the warmer or the hot weather. And if it wasn't for the sunnah, we don't need to eat them in the winter, period. Yes?
2 days ago, my son called me and said that him and his son was sick. And he was saying he was for food. And so he said, well, you know, Mom, I eat organic, which he and his family does.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you know, Jeanette, you should start eating halal.
Mm.
And he said to me, well, what is the difference? I said, because the name of Allah has been pronounced on the animal.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said that about praying over food, you know, it came to me to share that with him, and that's so important that we think, just like I said, just because we go purchase these high organic, you know, just because they tell us it's
Mm-hmm.
organic, it's on the package,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't necessarily mean that it's
Right,
organic.
right.
So when you're saying that, I always teach my girls too, always to say Bismillah
Mhm.
before they, you know, eat that
Right.
food. And that is so true.
You know that praying before you eat is something that was always part of just practices, but it's something that has become lost even in the Muslim community. It's unfortunate because, you know, Christians always pray, right?
Yes.
Always said a prayer over the meal. And, you know, the place that I go to, I love it because, you know, they hold hands around the table and they make a dua and then they say Surah Al-Fatiha before they eat. And it's just, you know, it's a consciousness, and you're putting that consciousness into this food that has been given to you. Now, I want to say this too, in saying that first of all, yes, we don't know the nature of the people who are producing things, or even the people that others may have hired to do things for them. You don't know whether they're an atheist, a Satan worshiper, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian, whoever. You don't know who these people are. You don't know if they're immoral, because, you know, that's so much, when I say immoral, I'm talking about, you know, with this homosexuality. You don't know what kind of people. In fact, some of these stores I go into, I'm like, I gotta find someplace else to shop. These people are too weird. I can't be coming in here, you know. Some places are like that. You feel it. But also, when you talk about the meats, the consciousness of the Muslim community has to be raised, because they will go anywhere and get an animal that has not been raised properly at all, that has been, you know, living in waste, didn't eat properly, and they'll, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you know, slaughter it, and then, you know, take it, this is halal food. It's not. Yes. Alaikum salam.
We recently got a couple cases of what was supposed to be halal chicken. It was the biggest chicken.
Like turkey,
It was
though.
outrageous. And her hand was hurting trying to cut it. You know, that's how big it was.
Touching it. I got to
Yeah.
gloves.
Right, exactly. And I was telling her, I said, we're not doing that no more.
Something's wrong, something's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though, just because the guy got halal on it,
Right.
doesn't make it so. But there's a market, Bennett's Creek. And the chickens are so small. And when I first, like years ago, we first started going there, I said to the guy, what are wrong with these chickens? He said, no additives, no preservatives.
Right,
They don't shoot them up with anything. It's a local farmer,
right,
and he believes in, you know.
right,
And
natural,
so
yeah.
when you eat it,
Yes.
you can tell the difference,
Yeah.
you know. But, and a couple things. One thing, I'm so glad to hear you make mention to, what you said, Amish. You know, because a lot of people say, oh, no, it's not allowed, Muslims didn't do this, that, and the other. But it's about that belief
Belief, the faith.
and the faith.
Yeah.
And I know that the Amish community, because I'm from Philadelphia, and you go down to Red Terminal, and all the Amish people are there,
Right.
and it's how they live their life and presenting you with something that they know is wholesome and good. So I was glad to hear you say that. And then the other thing, when you were talking about, and don't go near it, it took me out of the realm of literal food, but feeding your nature and doing stuff as well.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
it's not just feeding yourself food, it's your activities,
Absolutely.
who you're around,
Absolutely.
and all of that. And it's like, don't even come close to it.
Right.
It don't even make sense to be around it.
Right.
Not that you don't partake in it, but just being in the company of it
Yeah.
is not good for you.
And that's how some people, well, I'm not doing it, well, I'm not, you know, but you're there, and you're with, so no, yeah, and the thing is, like I said, being near it, can gradually wear you down,
Right.
where you say, well, maybe if I just take this much of that, or just do one more thing, till eventually, you know, you've lost your character and that nature, that spiritually holiness about yourself. So yeah, we have to be willing to partner, because we have to expand our understanding of Muslim and Islam. You know, that these people who believe in God and who are trying to live the way they believe God wants them to live, that's a Muslim. So whether it's a Mennonite, an Amish person, a Catholic, you know, a Jewish, whoever is living that way, if they have come into that consciousness and they've managed to get the land and begin to do things, support them. Until we're doing it ourselves. Now there's a Muslim couple, a Muslim family. I don't know exactly their location, but it's something else called halal pastures. We need more than meat. So the farm in Pennsylvania that I go to, they have gardens. And they have with the CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. They sell shares. You buy shares. And people say, oh, that's expensive. But this is what I say. When you know from where your food is coming, you know the source is pure, you know that land is pure, that water is pure. They're away from highways and factories. There's nothing up there. They've got well water. You know that the people are praying. They make salat. They do dhikr. You can't put a price on that. That you're getting food from people who are conscious of Allah as you are. You know, whether it's the Amish family, you know, this Mennonite family, one particular family that we deal with that are Mennonites, I love their family, you know, and they are so conscious. Now, they do some things that I'm not happy with. They eat pork, you know, but they don't raise the pigs. They're a dairy farmer. They don't have no pigs on their farm. So it's like, okay, I can deal with that. You know, that I can eat your cheese, and I can, you know, and even when I asked him about his chickens, he said, I know something about your halal requirements. Now, this is what the Mennonite farmer is saying to me. I know something about your halal requirements, and we fulfill every aspect of it except your prayer. Now, we believe in God, and we may be praying, but we're not saying your prayer. So it's like, okay, I don't buy chicken from them just as a general rule, but if I wanted something, I would know that their product is pure. Because I've been there, I've seen it. I see how they treat, and he's got like 5 boys or whatever and 1 daughter. He's got all them kids working, his wife is, and they run a really beautiful operation. They pray, they get up very early, you know, in the morning, they pray, they work, they live together, they're, you know, the family, I think 3 of their children have gotten married now, but they all stayed in the same area, and they're all still working, you know, trying to keep that farm that's like 3rd generation, to keep it into a 4th generation. It's completely organic. He doesn't even feed the chickens soy, even organic soy, because he doesn't like the fact that soy has too much phytoestrogen. He doesn't trust, but he makes sure his cows are grass-fed 12 months out of the year. How is that in Pennsylvania? Because they silage the grass. The grass that they're cutting in the spring, summer, they silage it so they feed their cows grass all year round. The cow, they're all grass-fed. So the milk that you're getting is pure, the cheese you're getting is pure. He sells goat cheese from another farmer, you know, and it's a beautiful operation. Now, the more, I would love to see Muslims doing this, but until we get more Muslims into it, in our understanding of Muslim meaning people that are, you know, praying 5 times a day, et cetera, recognize the Muslim in the others, because they are Muslim also. And Allah says that, you know, these are people, Ahlul Kitab, they will be in the Jannah also. Judged by their prophet and their book. They're not going to be judged by Muhammad in the Quran. They're going to be judged by what they believed in. And the fact that they try to live pure and worship God as they understand and live that way and protect the earth and protect the people, then, you know, learn to recognize that and support that, you know. And inshallah, when we are able, and we see Muslims getting into it that we can trust, and we go and we visit them and we can approve of what they're doing, yes, we support them, you know. So we just, we do the best we can, we pray over our food, we try to live according to the best we can, following the laws of Allah Ta'ala, and Allah will bless us for that and keep us healthy, inshallah. Yes.
So, there's I guess a debate going on now about human beings and whether they are omnivores or herbivores or carnivores. So what is your take on that?
Again, you know, because all kinds of stuff is going to come out. Refer everything back to the Quran. So Allah Ta'ala, when he talks about the animals, he said that he made, that there's some that we ride on and some that we eat from. And he also took from their bodies milk that's a drink for us. And milk is mentioned also in the Quran as a drink of the Jannah. So, and then he mentions, you know, the gardens. He mentions different foods, the corns and wheats and the fruits, you know, the olives, the pomegranates, the grapes, the different things that he has created for food. So, it's there. No Muslim by deen is a vegetarian. Not by deen. There was no prophet that we know of, and there are many prophets that we know of that Allah mentioned in the Quran that was a vegetarian. Yeah. There are ways to eat. They didn't eat a whole lot of meat, except for, there was one exception. He said one exception was when, when Ibrahim took Ismail and Hajar and left them in Mecca, there was no produce. And all they had was meat, because they had some, I don't know if it was goat, sheep or something, that could eat, little grasses that the humans couldn't eat. And then they would eat meat, and so they had meat and water, and they may have had a little bread. And so they said that was a diet that was an exception, until Allah, began to, from the Zamzam, beginning to create more vegetation and more different things growing there. And then their diet expanded to include more fruits and vegetables and things.
You said about visiting the farm. I don't know if you'll know W. Sabor and Dr. Sabor. They just opened up a farm right above Richmond, and they've been farming, and they're bringing people up and allowing them to work and garden, and they also have chickens and stuff. So it'd be really good. I know that he spoke here one time. He did the kids. I'm pretty sure that a lot of local people know him and the family, but they just opened up a really, really nice farm in Virginia. So it's really good to just support the local services.
Yes.
People, I can get the information for us, and like I said, go up there really close to Sister W. And just another thing about food we don't like. I hate oatmeal. I cannot take the taste of oatmeal. I mean, I'm trying. So is it really like, am I missing out on a big benefit?
No, but sometimes, like I said, sometimes you have a dislike for things that you don't need. Because if you would eat that, it might throw something out of balance in your system. And a lot of it has to do with just the way that you were created, the time you were born, and the way that your body is constructed, the minerals that making up you as an individual, as opposed to what's making up somebody else. So it might throw you into imbalance. Yes.
You just said something that just really blew me away here. The time you were born and the minerals within you. So if you does that connect to getting your whole blood work and knowing all of that stuff?
I don't think so, but it does. That it is based on a knowledge, which is because, we know that there's this magnetic pull in the solar system, right? That's how things are kept in the position that they're in by the will of Allah and by this magnetism between the different planets, the sun, and all of this. But the planets, and Allah mentions this in the Quran, how they move in and out. They take different positions at different times of the year. That's what the 12 months and the 12 things in the in positions in the sky that we call the zodiac, whatever. So there's a magnetic pull on the earth from different things. We know it most by the moon, how the moon pulls on the waters. So when the moon gets, as it's getting, moving towards into fullness, that pull on the waters increases. So we understand that. We understand the thing about the sun and different things. We don't understand a lot about the magnetic pull on the minerals of the earth. But when these things happen, according to because there's a whole science behind this. It's cell salt therapy that I learned. Cell salt therapy. I learned it way back, when I was first studying back in '92. That there's a certain mineral that is more dominant in a particular time of the year, and because of that, your body has a slightly different makeup than people born at other times. So I think, again, for me, it's just follow your natural intelligence. Allah put certain knowledge inside of us that we don't need to go and, this whole thing, eat according to your blood type and all of that stuff. I'm paying attention to those things. Because, first of all, consult your inner self. Consult Allah, consult the intelligence that Allah put inside of you. And eat balanced. I think the biggest thing is about balance, because that's one of the basic principles of this whole creation is balance. That Allah put this balance into the creation, and as long as we try to stay balanced and not get off on different things, so that we can enjoy life. I think when you start to try to get too scientific and too technical, it sort of takes that joy away. So just kind of relax, pay attention to your inner voice and enjoy what it is that Allah has made for you to enjoy. I get around calories, they just irritate the heck out of me. It's like, oh my God, just eat the food. Well, and I ate this many calories, so that means I can have this. I'm like, oh, please. So, really just try to pay attention to how you are being prompted from your natural self. And again, being careful that you're not being prompted to things that are harmful, because then there's some bad messaging going on and you need to figure that out. Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned, particularly in what you were talking about, how things, man has changed things and polluted it, is that I try to eat as natural as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Any fruits and vegetables and stuff. So when I go into the grocery stores, first thing I go to is the fruit, the vegetable section.
Mm-hmm.
And I stay in there longer than I do any other part of the store. Another thing I learned too is that the water we need to drink more water. Stay away from the sugary juices,
Mm-hmm.
the juices that they say that are natural and not have any pulp in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a natural orange.
Right.
Orange has fiber in it,
Yeah.
and they take the fiber out when they
Mm-hmm.
when they make the juice.
Mm-hmm.
So the juice is all sugar.
Right. Yeah, again, pay attention to what's natural. I look for the juice with the pulp. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to, if they don't have it, I'm not gonna buy any, because like, I'm waiting for y'all to get that real stuff in there, So, but the thing is, to try to keep things, or try to make your own,
Right.
try to make your own. So, I just don't take a lot of juice because most of it is not good. And I don't like to juice because it's messy for me. It's like I don't want to do the cleanup, so it's like I'll just drink the water, Put a little fresh lemon in it and, some raw sugar or some honey or something. That's my juice, lemonade. So, again, it's just trying to do the best you can. Don't make it hard on yourself. Don't make this a toil, like a trial where you're just like, oh my God, I don't know, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know. I've had people come up to me, yeah, but how am I supposed to do it? Relax. You start with one thing, you keep moving and more and more and more until and you gotta read. We learned that way back. Read the ingredients. Even a company that you have come to trust, don't stop reading because they change. They start changing their ingredients. And we have to stay away from that artificial stuff. I try not to buy just non-organic, but every once in a while I would buy a bag of Pepperidge Farm cookies. You're in the store and you're just like, I want a cookie. Pepperidge Farm, was a company that we used to be able to trust. So I had these cookies. I had bought Chessmen and the dark chocolate pecan or something. And I had them, and I was just eating a cookie, and I'm, looking at the bag, and I saw this little small print down underneath, and I'm like, oh, let me put my glasses on and see what this says. Partially processed with genetic engineering. I'm like, dang. I threw them in the trash, both of them. And it was like, we do, sometimes it's like, why am I feeling bad? Why is my mind kind of, not able to settle and think properly? What is going on? Because we're not realizing we're getting this stuff. How they sneak little things in. And they actually had that on the bag. I just didn't see it. I read the ingredients, but I didn't see that. And then there's the other things where they don't have to tell you because they keep it at a small percentage and it's in there and they don't even have to tell you it's in there. They don't have to put it on the bag. So that's the thing about, try to do the best you can, but, pray. And then when you realize that something's not good, don't feel bad because I'm like, well, I can't give it to anybody. I can't give people what I know is not good. So I threw it in the trash. You say, stuff it a lot. I should have paid attention. Now I spent this money and now the money's going in the trash, But be willing to make those sacrifices if you have to not just consume what is not good for you.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to thank you, Alhamdulillah. I got so much out of this. I drank so much water, but I never think to let's say, Bismillah over my water. When I drink it all day long, I'm drinking water, and I just noticed it's gonna change my water. But this was a great Sunday, and hopefully we do this again. Another thing you said about we should come together as a community, because sometimes me and my wife up in Northern Virginia, we'll get our meeting when we're up there, but we need to maybe as a community shop, or like you say, to see who needs what.
Yeah, when you go out, yeah.
Right.
I have these for, some of you may already have this, the Universal Harmony Diet. If anybody doesn't have it, I have these brochures available. Just give you a little bit of guidance for your choosing and when to eat and how to eat your food. But also about the water thing, you can put water beside you when you're praying, and it absorbs the energy of your ibadah, of your salat. Particularly, when you're reciting aloud the Fajr, the Maghrib, the Isha. But it's good to have it, and then to drink a little bit after you finish your prayer. Okay, anything else? Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair, may Allah reward all of you for being here, and inshallah guide all of us, me, you, and all of us, to the purest of food, the best way of living, something that makes us more salih, makes us more righteous and more, and also increases our taqwa, that we become more conscious. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.